Fine. Okay. So I think this is the simplest animation that we can do. So we have something on a block, and it needs to, actually let's just do this. So it's an even simpler block. And then you just you can change the scope. We have the color, we have the other color, and we want to animate that color when something happens. So today, if we do that on what we are doing on the animations today, are we set the transition on the base, and we go like say color, like 150 milliseconds is out. You know, that's what we will do today. Now, is that we were talking just now? You were saying that, you know, bringing back the conversation around maybe the animation should be within the value.
Yeah.
So they are like that. Now I don't have a problem with that. Like I guess we need to work out how, because what is the what would it be, right? What would it look like if you do that? So I guess it would be what, maybe like the curve, and then the time, in this case the parameters of the curve in a way, which is say that, you know, this and this takes the time, and then if it were a spring it would be maybe a, you know, I don't know, tension and friction. Is that what we
Yeah.
shit, sorry about that. So would that be what we are?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess we would have, and we were talking about having an order here as well. So something like, I don't know, the 0 for this is the first. So everything as 0 as the default, perhaps. So they all happen at the same time, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So they all happen at the same time. Now I think this is powerful, because then if we have, I don't know, this, and say we have a font size as well, we could say font size grows after, you know, with
Exactly.
the same spring perhaps. And I think the nice thing about it is, yeah, it gives us that control, that transition. I mean, transition has it, but the problem with transition is that it's a different key. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And also here we could maybe have, so order is 1, and then could we have a delay as well, I'm thinking? So order is 1, but then we add like one more number that stands for delay.
So it would be 0 by default, and then
Yeah,
you can
0,
go
0.
150.
But you could go 150, in milliseconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the thing is, you know, what does it mean here? Because it means it will go after this one finishes, and even after that, it will be 150 milliseconds after that one finishes. Is that what it means?
Yes.
Okay. And do we want that really?
It would wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do want to wait. Yeah.
Okay. But even after one thing finishes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you do it because so the reason why you want that control. So now sometimes, especially when you're animating width, height, or like flexes, we would probably be more inclined to animate flexes, and we need to see how we're gonna do that. Maybe for that we need flex, grow, and shrink. I don't know, but like transitions between layouts. This is something that maybe is a different type of animation altogether, but it's an animation. Like, for example, you want to not only slide in and slide out, but maybe click a button, and that button grows and takes the full screen. The content of the button disappears, but the content of whatever was in the button appears, which is maybe card details.
Okay. Is that like one of those that like a thing moves, a thing grows and stays on the screen?
Yeah, so you tap the button and the button goes full screen, and that's probably on the flex type of animation. And then the content of the button disappears, which is fine because it's always a different block. But then another content appears, and you want to control when that content appears and when disappears, and you probably want to add some delays to that content. You don't want everything to append in one specific time.
Okay.
And also, I would say that probably, no, I think the delay would be good thing. Now, the syntax-wise, I'm thinking, should we have the keys between, not just numbers? Because it will be like, like on some point it will be like with box shadow.
Too complex.
It's just like you just don't know which one is which.
So on the tools we'll have a parse.
I'm not worried about the tools. Yeah.
I think here what we could do is we can go with a previous order 0, delay 0, like what's that called? The shape of the curve, and then
the curve. I don't think you need to name the curve. Just it always will be a key, right? Always will be a word.
Yeah, but okay, yeah. And then this is tension. Oh, so you want to name only tension and
because if we do that, then I'm thinking you could potentially put them in any order you want on the line.
Yeah, and then they would just be picked up.
They will be just picked up.
Yeah, which is good. I guess it's handy anyways. You're right. Yeah, because sometimes you just if these are named, then you can just go say like even Spring, and it will pick up all the defaults.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is probably a nice thing anyways. And then at some point even we can probably configure what the default is for your app.
Yeah.
So you don't need to define all these tension and friction at all times. I don't know where we would do it, but maybe it's just some kind of thing that gets configured.
Maybe it's configured on the language, and that's it. And if you want to change it, well, you have a way to change it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay, yeah, right. This is better, I think, anyways, because it's like, now the only thing is, I'm thinking this is easy to break, because it's like we will go order and look for a number, which if you don't have a number, then we hit delay. Well, I guess we'll split it somehow.
If you don't have a number, can we use 0?
Yeah, we can, but already default of some kind. But I'm just thinking like how this is easy to write, it's easy to break. Sometimes if you have this is easy to parse, but it's also more noisy. Let's try without it. We should be able to do it. Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, okay. And then here it will be order 0, delay 1. No. Delay, sorry, no, this was order 1.
Yes,
delay 150 is out, timing 150. Yeah. But I guess this would be, always milliseconds, because it's the most useful value anyways. Instead of seconds. Like I know web does this, but that's not handy. 0.515 seconds is, which I don't even know, because that shouldn't even be 0.15 seconds.
It is, because milliseconds are 100.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. But it's it's weird. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So we should always use milliseconds, and that's it. Now so I guess So say we do this right now. I guess this opens the discussion for another thing, because this is when the prop on is enabled, and this is something that I guess introduces a complexity there. This animation will happen. So conceptually, what happens if we think about, say, CSS, this would be something like we have a Hey class that has a color of 323232, right? And if you need to do it in CSS like that, it would be probably a transition. Now we don't have so far Spring, so we use only is, and then we'll see how we do Spring. And it would be something like transition. Actually, this and the font family Montserrat. Sorry,
but I'm thinking, shouldn't that not go into the CSS transitions via transforms, and should it be just like always JavaScript?
No, because it's better. Like the performance of the animations are better if they are done with CSS.
But I guess that you have the CSS as transition, so don't use Vue's animations for that. If your concern is performance, because in your view performance breaks, use transition.
So here's the thing, mate. Views is supposed to abstract that away from people. That's what it's there for. The morpher is supposed to remove that complexity, and this is an implementation detail. This thing that I'm showing you is not
Okay.
something that you as a Vue developer see. This is the morpher doing its thing, and in React
Yeah.
Native we will do the other thing. And I think we should be, as Vues, we should be doing the best thing that we can, as we've been doing so far. You know.
But I'm just thinking if the CSS, when we're gonna convert that into CSS, is CSS capable of?
So CSS can do Spring in a
In
different way
keyframes.
in keyframes. It's not the same. I've tried that. It sort of works. There are some edge cases that we need to work out, but I think again that's an implementation detail, right? That comes down to doing whatever. Now, having said that, right? If we implement it on React Native with animated, we should be able to use already the same thing for web, right? So maybe you're right. Maybe we should do that, and then at some point we should try to do the web version. The only problem I would see with it is that these values are kind of, right now we are moving them already into, we move them already into emotion. So when you see something like this, you will see this. Okay, so this is already like, these are already like regular styles that get introduced in there. So I don't know how that would map. How would it work really internally? We may need to do something else. Yeah, we may need to do something else there internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for the, I mean, for Joaquin to guide him on that process of implementation, what do you think he would need to?
But if you're talking about only doing the native, he might not need to care about this at all, like the CSS side of it of React DOM.
That would be probably the easiest, and that would probably bring the most value to ClassSuite, as a product, because they really need the
Yeah, no, they need
native
animations on
animation.
native. I know, but I'm just thinking about it like the way I'm reasoning about it is that whatever animation syntax we use in Views has to work for both. So that's why I'm trying to flesh out the concept, despite him not doing it for
For web.
for
Okay.
them. I don't think it's, we need to ensure this is a big change in terms of how I know it's an add-on to the current syntax, so it doesn't matter essentially. Like if you don't add that, if you don't write that value next to the color red, nothing happens. I know that,
Yeah.
but the way we do it has an impact, and that's why I want to flesh it out. If you don't mind, I mean, I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. No, that's
important
fine.
because otherwise, then we'll have a potential issue with some clash that we didn't think about. And this is a simple animation here. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So what I would suggest here, like okay, back to this, right? In the simplest example, let's say we only do the color for now. So we would have something like a hey thing that has the color on 323232, right? And then in CSS, I think this would be like, say, well, conceptually, it's kind of like a is on type of thing, and the color here changes to red. And now what you would see in CSS to make that work is you need a transition. I think you need on this side, but you need a
Yeah.
transition that would go, say we would have a spring, doesn't exist, but you need color with the key of the value, and then say you do that, right? for whatever reason, and then you go 70-40. Say that exists. I know it doesn't exist. That's what the transition here would be, if we need to do it. Now, if we need to add, and this is the simplest probably example ever, if we need to add a font size is out with a delay, I think this needs to be, I think that still works. It's something like this. So this is 28, and then this here goes 20. So let's say we do that. And I think here, in order for that to work, you need to put like a second parameter, and you can go and specify the other value. And then you do something like, in this case, I don't know exactly how that goes. I think it's something like specify. I know it's possible to do that, like to say, yeah, so this is the time that it takes to this thing. So it takes index and so on. Property duration, timing, delay. Okay, so it would be property. In this case, it would be duration, 150 milliseconds. Timing is out, and then delay, 150 milliseconds. We said, right? So that's what it would be, in a way, if we need to, animate it too. And as a matter of fact, if say, if we weren't using Spring because we don't have it, and we use some
this is out or something.
Yeah, like is out. So we say, take 150 to do this. Sorry, 150 to animate this guy, and just do it on an is out. I think we should be able to put that on something like this. Yeah, and then I think we have something like so this is 300, 300, 450, I think it is. And then we say something like don't remember if this class list includes is on. Well, actually, sorry, I can do it different. Add is on. There you go. So we can do something like let is on false, and then we say classes. Well, actually, there should be more than that. It should be the element. So we just do something like l.classList if is on. We want to do is on false, and we want to remove is on. Otherwise, we want to do the opposite. I'm going to say it's on true, and we want to add is on. So I think that should be doing the, what did I miss here? Okay. Oh. Okay, there you go, right? So it does that. and it animates and so on. So I think this, I mean, this works in a way, or it should work somehow. And then this is how, you know, you would essentially, the same thing would happen in views in a way or another, right? There would be a logic file. The logic file is the equivalent of this. This is on the user. This is not on us. We don't do that. And then, you know, it just means that I think we probably need a bit more delay on this. Maybe this happens every 500. It's too tight. So what it does is, in theory, is it goes like this. It goes like this, and then it changes the font for 100 milliseconds, waiting 100 milliseconds before doing it. Is that what it means?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't. You see, I think it still starts at the same time. So in this case, if we wanted it to be delayed by this time as well, we would need to go 300 here. So you would change the color. This is too fast. I'll just do it every 1 minute, 1 second. I think this is not respecting the delay.
No, it is. Maybe we did an update before.
Yeah, because it grows and it stays on that color, and then it changes the font to something else, I think. Okay, yeah. So you know, this would probably work, I guess, in a way. And these are probably the caveats, because then this guy wouldn't be, if we are adding the order, this wouldn't be like that. It would have to be 3, because essentially it has to take into account the duration of this animation. Let me just actually rename this to, maybe for now, just keep it as a comment. And then we keep it like that. So as a matter of fact, there's not even a need to specify any of that in theory.
Yeah.
Wait, delay 150, delay 0, is out, timing 150, that's what we need. Yeah. So this would, you know, this would be like the equivalent, and now we wouldn't need to specify these two because they are defaults. But as a matter of fact, we could probably say that a default timing could be 150, if that's a, you know, but it's okay. So this, then we would need, okay, color, we need the timing for it, this delay, because we are working in order. If we wouldn't be working in order and this would be order 0, the delay would be only 150, because we want it to happen after this guy. If, sorry, no, there's no delay. No, actually, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Because if you specify a delay, so if it happens in order, if it happens in order 0 as well, then the delay is 150 because we specify the delay. You know, and if we didn't specify any delay, there is no, this just doesn't even exist. If we were to have only this, essentially the two animations happen at the same time with the same duration. You know. And in CSS, I think there is something that you can add as well, which is a new thing. I don't know if it works for anything, for everything, but I know there is a new property that will change or something like that. That tells the browser that that property is going to change and it needs to optimize. So you see, these are the kind of things that I'm talking about. You know, we as Views have to be, when we go to a target platform, we should try to utilize as much as we can all those native things that we get as a target.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
And the user shouldn't know, because this, you know, this hasn't changed. You know. So that would be this, I guess. Now, in this case, this animation is also, because it's defined on the root, is also applying backwards. So when you go back to the thing, the animation, sort of the style of the color goes away, I think, and it just goes away, I think. So my question is, do we need, because I want to see actually what happens if I introduce, what am I doing here? I'm doing it in the wrong place. So if we just introduce the animation here, do you see what it does? It jumps back. So the question that I had was, with these things, do we let you configure an animation on the base? Is there a reason for that? Do we want that in any way? Because would that be, say, like the animation coming back to the color be of a different type?
For simplicity reasons, no. I would say that when you're doing transformations in the UI, you probably want to have the same transitions between. So when it's a toggle, for example, of some sort, you probably want to just toggle it similarly quickly. But for the possibilities of creative controlling the animation, I think you might want to. So my answer would be yes, if that doesn't add too much work to it.
I actually don't know. So what that would mean, say, if we would like to,
if we could specify there, yeah, on the thing that when you transition to that value, this is the transition curve.
Yeah, so we would do it like this, say. I don't know, we only transition the color back, say, in this case, I don't know, as a thing. And then we would say, well, see, I don't know, it actually does it. Yeah, I don't think it actually does it. Does it?
No, I think this was one of the challenges that we had with CSS animations before.
They just don't let you.
They just don't let you go back to the state, to the original.
Yeah.
They go forward, and then they snap back, and then they go forward and they snap back.
Well, unless, and this is the other thing,
unless you go keyframes.
No, well, that or this, unless you put it in here, because it, you see, this way it does it.
Okay.
It does that. Now, if we do the same at the same time, the thing, it will grow, get red. It will grow back and get thing, but it's like it's like only one side of it. Not really like. You can control it in two different ways, I think.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Well, on the beginning, I think that's good enough. That even if it's only that you can control the way that you transition into something, and then transition out is just assumed that is the same, just reverse.
Okay.
I think that's for the start. That's definitely okay.
More than enough. Okay. So,
yeah, because most animations would be like that. I can't find the use case for the other one. I don't know what would have to be, but maybe something connected to performance, because when you say transitioning, animating from a view with the list into view without the list, maybe like the view without the list will animate really quickly, the list will animate slowly, so the way that you transition to view with the list could be different. So you might want to not to do things at the same time.
Okay.
Because there's just performance, like there's more elements or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
So
okay, but this is okay. But if
if that's the simple, also we need to look at it from the perspective of Joaquin being able to perform that, right?
Yeah. So this is
being able to like within the time frame, not to dump too much on him.
So what would be the React Native solution to this, right? It would be something like this. Like you would have to say we have the view, right? Now the view for this in native would be something like actually wait. Let's let it morph it. Why do I have to think about it? Okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does. It's the thing. So this is what we get from views on native. And I guess, right, so we get this thing, which is fine. And then why didn't it give me the, oh, okay, I need to put the values here. Yeah. So I think what the change that would have to happen for this to work, there would be one that would be very easy. So it's actually I need to put this in JavaScript file because I'm gonna go nuts. So the change that would probably have to happen for this to work on native would be something like, well, at least the simplest. This can be turned into like a class in a way that holds the render method, which is pretty much what we were doing, right, so far. And it has these, and then it just returns that. That's okay. So we have this. So this is grand. This is the animated part. So it's everything. That's it. So now this would be something like that. Right now the difference would be that we would be passing down the this dot get. I would probably do something like this. Get color, right? And then in here I would put this logic somehow. And the same thing with the font size. This is for the programmatic aspect to it, because otherwise it would be very complex to do it as a, like what the ideal code would be. So I guess the challenge then comes around what is the animated aspect of it. So you would probably be, importing animated from React Animated, from React Native. Then we would have to store like I would say ideally we would use one animation value, right? But that really depends on the combination of things you use. So the simplest implementation that this can have is to have one animated value per property that you're animating. The best solution is to have ideally one shared across things that share the same time and curve. So in this case, if they
performance wise,
yeah, because you don't want to be animating too many things. We try that and it just doesn't go well. So if we have, say, one, I don't know, animated value, right? And you do this by going any new animated value 0, right? So this is like, well, and this actually depends on the initial state. So in this case, we ideally, this is another thing that I found as well that makes it easier to reason about. Now in views, when we morph it, we can already go to use the values, but treating this as 0 to 1 is the easiest. and then you just interpolate. So what we would do here is something like, okay, so we need to react on its own. Okay, so okay, say assume that works for a start, and then what we would do is something like, when you get the color, we would actually, this won't happen here then. I would do something like return this animated value, interpolate, and perhaps we would need to do a map. I think this goes input range. I think it goes input range. Interpolate animation guide. Input range and output range, that's what it is. Yeah. So input range would be 0 to 1, which are the values of the animated value, and then inside you go output range, and I think here you need to go, we need to convert the values to hex. So at this point we need to define what is 0, what is 1, right? So conceptually I think 1 is the state you're going to, which would be red. So that would be FF0000. I think it needs to be mapped down to it, and then the 0 would be the other way around.
Yeah.
32, 32, 32, and then this would be the end state, and that would be that for color. Now in the case of fonts, you would also need to do, if we want to use the same pattern for simplicity, we can do it as well, and we can use, okay, you know, the beginning is 18 and the other one is 28, and then we can do an optimization later, because essentially the range here is 18 to 28, you know. We don't need to use 0, 1, but in order to make the easiest thing possible, you know, that's what it would be.
Yeah, animated requires the input range.
Yeah, exactly. And now these, for, you know, I would probably put it as separate methods because it's easier to follow when you look at the morph code, but this can also be, you know, done in here. It can be in line, right? Like this, for anyone watching this thing, it would be like this, right? But ideally, I think he would be out because it's easier to follow. Now, the one thing we are missing now is how do we activate the animation? And that would be when the component will, I think we can do it either on component will receive props, on component did update, I think. I don't know which one we would need here. We'll need to see. I think did update should be fine.
Receive props for update, isn't it? Receive, like, I mean, from timing perspective.
Receive props is when it's about to change. And did update is when it changed.
Because maybe
receive props is better, you think?
Yeah, it would be sooner, essentially.
Yeah, but you may not have. You don't have it done ready. It's okay. We can try. There is another one that is called will update, which is when it's about to update.
Yeah, so maybe one of these essentially.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, well,
these are in React Native, I would assume, right?
They're both in the same. It's about React, really. So we can try with this for now. It's fine. And then what I would do here is something like, you know, because we're using the same animated value and because they share the same prop, and these guys, you see, the benefit of using interpolation like this is that then you just put the values in here, you know.
Yeah.
And it always interpolates from 0 to 1 on those, anyways, you know. Now, if they use the same timing and so on, we can use the same animated value. If they don't, we need to use different. So what I would, and then this is the other important part, we always go to the default, which is 0 in this case. So that's how it maps down to it. So
do we need to specify input somehow? Sometimes, because I mean, depending on.
What do you mean?
Like, do we need to specify input range in some other format than 0, 1?
No, if you use this pattern, no. If you use this pattern, no, it's fine. You can treat it as 0, 1. Like the alternative to it is, as I said before, you could have your animated value is just a value. The interpolation here happens because we are remapping the number. The number goes from 0 to 1, the animation. It doesn't go from, you know, so, but alternatively you could say, well, start in 18, you know, and when you do the animation, you move it to 28.
I actually meant something else. You remember when we had more values in input,
Yeah.
like just different values in input, not in between values,
Oh, you mean like say
like
0.8?
0. Yeah, for example.
Ideally, well, you see, ideally we wouldn't do that. I know that's possible, right? Which allow us to control the animation more. If
Yeah, but we
anything,
have springs for that, right? We have curves for that.
Springs deal with that, yeah. In theory, like
Yeah.
this is a more complex one that I think I don't know if it really was adding something for us. Like I mean, we were messing with it because we were trying it out, but so
Okay.
okay. So this condition to me feels very like it's the same. So and we are using the same curve, so we can get rid of this in theory, and then what we can do is we can say if it's actually we can say if it's on is not next is on. So we have it. We are tracking the value of is on, and we are checking it against the next is on, right? And for this, actually, for simplicity in views, we'll probably do something like this. Then at that point, we animate the value. So we go this dot animated value, and then we put the curve in here. Like in this case, say we were going with timing, but say we use a spring. And I think here you need to go to value, and then this is what matters. The 1 or 0 depends on next is on. So next is on. If next is on, we are going to 1. Otherwise, we are going to 0. And then here goes the rest of the configuration of the spring, which in this case it's what else do we have? Of course, I don't see it now. Value and config. Oh, the config goes in a second. Friction, tension, speed, bounciness.
Yeah, use one or the other.
Yeah, but we were friction. Yeah, so okay. I don't remember. Was it like this? I thought it wasn't too. Well, maybe it was like that. Yeah, I don't know. Friction 40, tension 70, right? So whatever the params that we were configuring, and then the next thing that is important here is you need to go start. So the animation does whatever it needs to do, right? Now there is an aspect to it, which is when the animation finishes and you get what you get, and this should, for the most of it, work. I think. Yeah, this should actually work in native. If you have, you probably need to go already, right?
Yeah, if you could send me that video, I'll forward that to Ricardo.
Now this is only one tiny bit of an animation. This is not dealing with more complex things like lists, things coming in and out, and we need to see.
Yeah, but let's start from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, this will give us some animation, of some kind, and then we can work out the rest.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for that.
No worries.
Thanks for that. I'll send it on to Ricardo, and then we'll see how Joaquin will approach that, and what's gonna happen, whether he's gonna have more questions or not.
Yeah.
We'll then figure it out. But we should probably manage that on the issue in Morpher, right?
I think so. Yeah. Well, there will be an aspect of the Morpher needs to parse the animation, understand it.
So maybe if you could you put it on the issue that video, link to that video?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So then I'll forward him the issue, and then they will have the full view on this. Okay. That's where the conversation can happen as well.
Okay.
So it's not getting lost somewhere in Slack.
Okay. Yeah, I can do it.
Sounds good, man. Thanks a lot for that.
No worries. Catch you later.
Yeah. See you.
Bye. So I think this can probably be morphed to something like get animated value, perhaps. Yeah, this can be done like that. And then here we just pass, like say, from to in a way. and then when we go here, we just say get animated value, like that, and then we can do the same thing here. So that would remove the need for all these guys, and then we have a common method that we can just insert in the class, and that would just work. I think so, yeah. This could even be external in the sense that it could pick up well, yes, this could even be so that it's not even within the class, it's something like outside, and you pass these and you pass the animated. So if you pass animated value like that, then it's independent of it, and then we can move these outside, I guess, as a method that will take this and then animated value. And then we can do that. And then this is a slightly better approach because it means that it works with pretty much anything, sort of. And yeah, this is again, if it's the same animation, if it's a delayed or something, we need to do something else. Now let's see if that works. So okay, so now let's try to copy this view. Actually, now let's try this out and go into app.js. Let's just import that file. Okay. Okay, so this should be that, and then now this is the other thing as well. If it's on by default, we should probably go this on 1 or 0, which is also important. So maybe we can abstract this as well at some point. Now let me just remove the family here. Okay, let's set some margin. Okay. Right, and I forgot actually that we need to use animated text for this, which is something that Vue does if we use a prop, if we tell it to use animated. Okay, so there we go, and this is it. And now what I need to do though is something that changes is on, I guess. So for that, maybe we can take it on the app and do something here, like an interval or something like that. And then we just render well, hey in this case, and give this on. And we base it off state. So we go state is on false, and then we say something like component will did mount, and when it mounts we start animation. Let's do it in the same way that we did this. So here we say if this state is on, actually, sorry, this set state is on, not this state is on, and we do this every second, say it's fine. So then we come back to it, and then we should see the thing hopefully animating. Alright, what's the story with it? Okay, so we see the thing changing, but for some reason it's not going into hey. Props is on, it's not, next is on. Yeah, I don't think it just so is it really that. Oh, that's strange. Okay, which makes sense. Obviously I'm doing something that is not right. Let's see. So you get this is changing. Okay. So this is changing, but it's not going into, so this is going right as it should, but it's not going into this for some reason. Oh, Jesus, yeah, of course. All right, so now animated value. Sorry, no, this is not like that. This is, how was that? Animated spring, it was. Yes. Right. And that's why I remember this syntax being different, because it was two value and the rest of the config was in place here, wasn't it? Yes. So now it's the same. And now the one thing we want to do here is use native driver true whenever possible. Now I don't know if it works with this one in particular, but we want to put that in, and then well, no, we can't do it. Okay, so there are some props that it supports, some props that it doesn't. When we get this native driver, we should use it because it's more performant animation. But this does, it has the same effect basically than the one that we were doing on before, and that's really that. And then the other, because of the initial state, which is something that in CSS we'll get by default, but this thing here, we support it being on by default at the beginning. We can do that, and then when we start this, it will actually start in red and big, and then it will go back and forth and and so on. So that's kind of that with the beginning of it, I guess.